Good morning, everyone. A very warm morning on this chilly morning. I would like to welcome you all on this seminar where we have different tudes, tude 5, to discuss various parenting techniques, different child rearing practices, how it is based on socioeconomic status, different situation that can affect childhood. And I would like to thank you, Ritu Sharma, our tutor in charge, to to grant us this opportunity for us to share our thoughts. Therefore, we will start shortly with Tute 1. I would now like to welcome Tute 1 to please come and share.
Good morning to one and all present here. Today, tutorial 1 is going to talk about parenting styles. And before we get into understanding the different styles of parenting, we need to understand the origin of these parenting styles. And we often get confused between two terms and use them interchangeably, that is parenting styles and parenting practices. The parenting styles, according to Darling and Steinberg, is defined as a constellation of parents' attitude and behaviors towards children and an emotional climate in which the parents' behavior are expressed. In easier words, it represents strategies that parents use in the child upbringing. It's basically how parents respond to and make demands on the children. And parenting styles also convey parents' overall feeling about the child through their body language, tone of voice, emotional displays, and quality of attention, how affectionate they are towards their children and not. So it could range from highly authoritarian, that is my way or the highway, or to anything that goes easier. So an example could be like from my childhood while we were growing up, my friend's parents did not let her drink cold drink. So they did not give her any reason. It was just a no, plain no. That could be authoritarian parenting. So, and while my parents, even they said no, but they did come up with a valid reason that it could harm my teeth or maybe I'll catch a cold. So that could be authoritative parenting. Now, coming to parenting practices, it could be defined as imposing and using of regular schedules, rules, and expectations that parents convey to the child, and communication of punishments, rewards. Basically, parenting practices can refer to any kind of regular interaction that a parent has with a child. It can also be referred as, parenting practices can also be referred as specific behaviors used by parents to socialize with their children, what they expect and they don't. So, like if, for example, making the child understand that they will be only allowed to go outside to play only if they are able to complete their homework. So that is, they are communicating the expectation to the child. If this happens, then only that will happen, or that they should be home by 7. So that is, they are following a schedule for it with the child. Okay, so Beaumont in 1960s laid down three parenting styles, that is authoritarian, authoritative, and permissive. Later on, two psychologists, Eleanor Maccoby and John Martin, came up with a fourth parenting style, that is uninvolved and neglectful parenting. And these parenting styles are actually based on two dimensions. That is, the first dimension is acceptance and responsiveness. So this dimension talks about how much a parent is responsive and accepting of their child. So parents classified as accepting and responsive often smile at the children. They often praise the children. They are encouraging and motivating the children. And there's a great sense of warmth, comfort, and security that a child experiences with acceptive and responsive parents. However, less acceptive and responsive parents often are quick to criticize their child. They're quick to judge. They are quick to scold and yell at the child's mistake. So there's a communication gap which parents were less accepting and responsive. And the second dimension is demandingness and control. This dimension talks about how demanding and controlling parents are with the children. So controlling and demanding parents are, they often limit the child's expression of freedom. They impose so many demands that a child cannot express themselves freely. However, parents who are less restrictive and less demanding, they make fewer demands, and they also take in consideration the child's demand, what the child actually wants. And children of such parents are quick at decision making, and they can follow their own activities. So in this slide, it can be seen that for the characteristics of different types of parenting. So, taking in consideration the two dimensions, authoritative parents have high levels of parental control. They are highly controlling, and there is low level of responsiveness. They don't respond so quickly. And authoritative parenting, we have high levels of parental control, but there's also high level of responsiveness. So there's an equal balance between control and responsiveness. And then there is permissive parenting. There is low level of parental control and high level of responsiveness. And the last is uninvolved parenting, where there's low level of parental control and low level of responsiveness. It's like the parent does not care how the child's well-being is. There's no control. They don't fix any rules, and they're not even quick at responsiveness. Now, next we move on into understanding these parenting styles in a bit detail. Ashima, next slide. We can start with authoritarian slide.
Authoritarian parenting, okay, it is a very restrictive pattern of parenting in which adults impose many rules, expectation, strict obediences, and will rarely ever explain to the child why it is necessary to comply with all these regulations. They are like, you have to do this. You can't question me why I'm imposing these rules and regulations to you. We just want you to obey and follow that rules. They place high level of parental control and high demands on their children, and they believe them to follow that blindly. They don't want them to be questioned, and they impose strict rules to make the kid well behaved, like they should wear these kind of clothes. They should come home by 6 o'clock. They can't eat this, they can't drink this, and they don't even give an explanation why they should do that and why they should not do that. And an authoritative parent have low level of responsiveness, and are tend to use negative forms of disciplines, like they take away the privilege of for poor behaviors, like they, if they don't finish their homework, they are like, you won't be playing video games, you are not allowed to go out. They like take away their privileges and often tend to like physical form of punishments as well, like bashing them and beating them, etc. Like beating a child for using cuss words. They don't make them understand that you are not allowed to use cuss words because of this and this, but often the parents tend to beat them and make them shut their mouth. They don't make them like aware that why we are not allowed to use cuss words, why we shouldn't talk like this. Instead of that, they start beating the child. An authoritarian parent are not sensitive to a child's different viewpoint. They are like always in a one-way communication. They don't let the child speak. They don't let the child explain why they are doing so. They are always like, I put on this rules and you have to just follow it and respect it. And they kind of build an authority over them. They're not responsive to a child's feelings or opinion. They are like, authoritarian parents are famous for saying because I said so. They are like, if whenever a child starts to question them, they are like, because I said so. It's my house, it's and my rules, you have to follow them because I said so. They have firm rules and expect those rules to be followed, and it has very bad impact on the child when they grow up. Child who grow up with strict authoritarian parent tend to follow rules much of the time. They have they don't value their views, and they have no opinion, and it might affect the relationship with others as well. They tend to have poor self-esteem and a poor relationship with others because their opinions aren't valued enough from the childhood itself. It makes the children feel powerless and fearful at the same time. They may also become hostile or aggressive, like most of the youngsters are today. Like they are so they are so aggressive, and they always tend to back answer and behave in an aggressive way, because in from the childhood itself they are not not they are always like restricted to something. They are not allowed to express their feelings, so that's why they have anger towards the parents and towards the society and towards everyone. Since authoritarian parents are often strict, the children may grow to become good liars to and they lie to their parents to avoid punishments and all. And as an adult they begin to live a life which seems to be perfect for the parents and society, and they kind of and they kind of ignore the fact that how they are feeling, how they want to express themselves. They ignore the fact. Most of the time they adjust themselves according to the parents need, according to the society's need. Few example of authoritarian parent, like even most of the Indian parents and Asian parents do. If you don't stop crying, I will beat you once more. Like most of the Indian parents do this. Even we have gone through such experience, like in childhood, like rona band nahi kiya to tu aur pitega. And the second example I would like to give is like whenever in some social gathering or family gathering we do something embarrassing, okay, then our parents are like they don't react then I know. They are like tu ghar chal tujhe dikhati hu. They try to threaten us. The parents threaten the children, mainly the authoritarian parent threaten the children, tu ghar chal teko dikhati hu. Like they never make them understand you should not do like this. You have to behave in a good manner. Instead of that they threaten them, and which make them really fearful. They grow up to be a fearful citizen than an obedient one. In conclusion, I just want to add that we should not appreciate this type of parenting. Parents should be the children's role model, and the children should reflect what a parent are, how the parent is raising them, and it is much effective. It will be much effective to teach the child about logic and natural consequences for their inappropriate behavior rather than punishing them and beating them. Thank you.
Okay. Authoritative parenting. So there are two main factors involved in parenting. First one is warmth, which is also regarded as care or responsiveness, and the second one is control. In authoritative parenting, there is high warmth along with high control. Authoritative parents respect their child needs. They believe that their kids need freedom, but with a certain limit. They use positive discipline instead of forceful measures, and they expect their children to behave appropriately, obey parental rules, but they use reasoning and allow give and take discussions. They don't require blind obedience from their children, as in the case of authoritarian parenting. The few certain examples can be that a child can play freely, but after he is done, he needs to clean the room. A child is allowed to eat ice cream, but only on Sundays. And uh, one of the common example that we see that children are always on their phone. So you can use the phone, but you can limit the screen time to 30 minutes a day. Now, there may be conflict at times between a child and parent, but a parent listens patiently to what a child has to say, and then certain rules are made. If a child faces any type of difficulty, then these parents provide all the support he needs to get through that hardship, and he develops a strength to face the hardship and continue following his interests. For example, uh, if a child is playing a game and he loses the game, So he starts breaking up the controller out of anger. So instead of saying that, why are you breaking the controller? You have to normalize his emotion of showing the anger. You have to tell the child that it's okay. If you lose a game, then you are allowed to get angry, but it is not a good way to express the anger and break our valuables. And you can also discuss that what can be done in order to express the anger, or how can you minimize it. So in this way you can we are providing the opportunity for problem solving and self regulation. So studies have found that kids raised by authoritative parents tend to be happy, content, independent. They develop good social skills, they have good self control, they are competent, they are more cooperative with their peers, they have higher academic success, they engage more in school activities, and they have better mental health. So that's why this parenting is considered to be the best among all the four. Thank you.
Now comes the permissive parenting. In this parenting style, just as the name suggests, parents permit their children to freely express their feelings and impulses, but they do not monitor their children's activities closely and rarely exert control over their behavior. Permissive parents are very responsive to the emotional needs of the children. These parents do not put any burden on their children. Instead, they allow their kids to decide their path and ambitions. Moreover, they do not set any specific rules on the limit for their kids. Now, from the definition, you can see that there can be both pros and cons to this style. Pros may include that there is better communication. This is because children consider them as their friends and hence they share everything with their parents. Communication is two-way and hence it is beneficial. The cons may include first, bad academic performance. The parents do not ask for any goal or have any expectations from their children, so they do not attempt to set a goal. Permissive parents do not bother about their children and hence they have low academic achievements. Another one may be more aggressive. The permissive parents do not regulate their children's behavior and they give them complete freedom. Therefore, children become more aggressive and they face behavioral problems. One of the most common phrase that permissive parents use that "bacche to bacche hain." They are more prone to addiction of alcohol or wrong habits. This is because parents give them complete freedom initially, and later they may indulge in wrong habits and become aggressive. They have worse social skills. Permissive parents have children who have worse social skills. These children have less empathy and basically no friendliness towards their friends and relatives. Instead, they hardly have any friendly social behavior. They have low self esteem. They cannot follow rules and may possess egocentric tendencies. Thus, from the discussion, we can see that the children have more cons than they have pros. To be more clear, let me state an example. For example, a child may stay late at a school night to finish watching a movie. A permissive parent will allow the child to make their own decision to stay up late rather than on a to stay up late than a normal even though they will need to wake up and prepare for the school next day. The parent believes that the child will make a correct decision for themselves and will learn from the experience. The parent will be sympathetic to the fact the child is tired in the morning. However, they will not set a boundary for the bedtime so that children can get adequate sleep. Thus, parenting is not the best style, but it definitely cannot be called the worst style of parenting. It shows the homey side of the parents that they're affectionate towards their child. However, at certain times, strictness is demanded and every parent must have it.
Uh, Now, the fourth parenting approach for child rearing, as proposed by the psychologists Elena McCovey and John Martin, is the uninvolved or neglectful parenting style, within which an unresponsive, indifferent, inattentive, complacent, and
Please switch on your camera. When you are explaining,
ma'am,
please switch on your camera.
ma'am, is my camera not switched on? Uh, I have
We
turned it
can't
on.
see.
It is on. It is
Anudeep,
on.
It's
Anudeep,
on.
camera is
Yes,
on, ma'am.
it's on.
It's on.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am,
ma'am,
it's
it's
on.
on.
We can see
Yes,
her.
ma'am, it's on.
Okay, maybe due to your network. I can't see it. Okay, just go on.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Okay, so the fourth parenting approach for child rearing, as proposed by the psychologists Elena McCobbie and John Martin, is the uninvolved or neglectful parenting style within which an unresponsive, indifferent, inattentive, complacent, and undemanding course is deployed. This lax form can be employed by the parents who are either completely dismissive about their children or are overwhelmed and overburdened by their own anxieties, stresses, desires, and tribulations in life. Although they might also be dissociated from any knowledge about child development in some cases. Thus, resorting to this path can be unintentional too, especially for the parents suffering through psychosomatic issues or even complications arising due to substance abuse. There are barely any resolute regulations to be followed by the children. In such a backdrop, parents expect the children to raise themselves on their own. Consequently, children may not receive appropriate guidance, nurturing, and parental attention since the primary caregivers are unable to fetch enough time and energy to devote to child rearing or even catering to their basic needs. And therefore, they also retain rarely any cognizance about even the pursuits their children are indulging in on an everyday or regular basis. The resultant impact of this pattern of parenting on children is that they may transpire to materialize delinquency, impulsivity, and annoyance because of being incapacitated in regulating their own emotions suitably. The children may also endure low self esteem, vulnerability to a lack of trust in self endeavors, insecurity, which in situations of extremity might also culminate into certain malpractices, substance abuse, anxiety, dismal condition of mental health, self harm, and even societal attempts to a huge extent. A few examples instantiating this way of parenting and child raising can be observed through a situation where the parent although provides the child with all the available options of food items, but when the parent arrives late at home and is insisted by the child to give him her dinner, the parent just denies outright and enjoins the child to quote unquote eat whatever you want from the available food items when the child is extremely hungry. Herein, even if the child gets something to eat, she won't be obtaining a nutritious fulfillment. In some conditions, the child, due to being refrained from a balanced diet, may also bear the brunt of several other health issues. This was just one example. Another exemplification of neglectful parenting can be ascertained in not engaging in conversation about the child's day and progress in school, or being uninterested to assist the child in preparing a meal for himself or herself when there is an absence of one or the other parent. Now, in a way, we shall draw the surmise that this low level of parental control, emotional attachment, interest in parents' behavior might even be an outgrowth of a similar parenting pattern they also must have witnessed in their own childhood. While another major factor is the contemporarily, fast-pacing environment wherein both parents are working. Thus, it is only recently that this style is so exhaustively deduced and discovered too. Thank you.
So, as it has already been pointed out by Aditi, considering the fact that authoritative parenting style is a good mix of control and responsiveness, it is deemed to be the most preferred style of parenting for the overall development of the child. Ashima, you could go to the next slide now. So now, more often than not, we know what's best for us, but despite knowing what's best for us, do we always end up doing those things each and every time? The answer to that question is no. And we can say that there is mostly a divide between our action and our thoughts. So now relating this, just relating what I just said to the current slide, if authoritative parenting style is considered to be so, it looks good on paper and it's good in theory as well. So then why is it that not all parents are adopting it? The answer to the question lies in the various factors affecting the parenting styles. Some of the major factors have been listed in the presentation. You could read with me. It is basically cultural background. It depends on the cultural background of the parent, the religious background, the parental background, socioeconomic status, educational level, family size, personality. Basically, this list is not exhaustive. It consists of the major factors. And the purpose of including the slide is basically to familiarize you with the concept that just like multiple childhoods are affected by certain environmental or external factors, similarly, even parenting styles differ. Ashima, you could go to the next slide now. So in a nutshell, we can say that there is no one approach to go about parenting a child. To support this statement, I would like to briefly state the results of some of the research studies. There was a paper published in the year 2000. Ashma, I would go to the next slide. So in the year 2000, which establishes a relationship between the parenting style and the adolescent's academic performance. It says that an authoritative parent was able to instill adaptive achievement practices in the child. And how did the authoritative parent do that? It was by providing the child with positive experiences around the academic tasks. To the child by actually what do you say, by showing their own task related engagement or instruction and support, and by just being the role model. So they lead by example. So for considering an example, so say there and a child has a test tomorrow, an examination tomorrow. So an authoritative parent is say the child is staying up late till 12. So an authoritative parent is more likely to just be there, quiz the child, show their involvement, or maybe offer a cup of tea or coffee. So there's engagement and involvement of an authoritative parent in that. And now, Ashma, you could go to the previous slide. In another study, a team of researchers actually established a relationship between the socio-economic status of the family and the parenting style. So it was found that parents belonging to lower income families were more likely to follow the authoritarian parenting style as opposed to parents belonging to a higher income family. So there have been several studies conducted in US, which supports the idea that authoritative parenting style is basically the parenting style associated with achieving optimum youth outcomes. But then there's a contrary to that, there's a study which was conducted in Spain, and in that it was found that permissive parenting style got better results. It was in comparison to authoritative parenting style, it was the permissive parenting style which gave the better results and helped in achieving the desired outcomes. Now, to conclude, I'd say that as far as parenting style is concerned, there's no one-size-fits-all approach that can be followed. There is no universal parenting style that can be applied everywhere. Every child is unique. A parent should assess or can understand the child's behavior and according to that implement any of these styles or a mix of these styles which they see if suits the situation the best. So that's it. This is all on behalf of tutorial 1 regarding to parenting styles. I hope you guys learned something new.
Thank you so much, Tute One, for shedding light on parent neglection and how much they are responsible in a child's growth and development. But sometimes parents are authoritative and negligible unintentionally. But again, it is their due responsibility and it is expected of them to correct it if they find any kind of mishandling in their parenting style, and they should take hint of their parenting style by their child's behavior. Now, I would now like to invite you two for their thought-provoking views. Please, you two, over to you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Divya
Anyone
Rawat.
want to discuss something with you one?
Ma'am, can we discuss it at the end? तब तक सारे बच्चे अपने questions ready कर लेंगे.
बट अभी जो माइंड में थॉट्स चल रहे हैं ना वो ट्यूट वन के टॉपिक को लेके चल रहे
Okay,
हैं.
ma'am.
अभी
Okay,
अगर
okay,
माइंड
fine.
में किसी के कुछ है तो वी कैन गिव 5 minutes at least if there is some suggestion or there is some discussion.
Okay, ma'am. Wait, Tute 2. If there are any questions regarding Tute 1 topics, I would now like to welcome all the queries. Please raise
कृपया
hand if you want to ask something.
सुना है या नहीं सुना है आप लोगों ने? सुना है.
Yes, Shalja, you may proceed with your question.
Ma'am, I just had one doubt. Ma'am, when we were talking about authoritative parenting, I think Aditi was speaking. Ma'am, she said a point that authoritative parenting gives mental peace to child because of the academic performance, high academic performance. So I just want to know that if parents are strict, how can the child have mental peace?
Yes, ट्यूट वन.
Ma'am, can I explain?
Yes, छाया.
Ma'am, actually, she was talking about authoritative parenting style in which the relationship between the child and the parents are cohesive. Like they can talk about anything and everything. They set the rules, they are strict, but still they are allowing things in a stricter manner. Like you can do this, but you can play also. Like I give an example, like children have a timetable for the classes, but for the days as well. Like you can play in the evening, but you have to study 2 hours in the afternoon. This is how it is. So if some problem occurs, the children can share that problem with the parents. So that is it is like it is not about only strict parenting. That is a different one. So that is it is if I am able to share if I am able to share something with my parents, I can feel free and have peace of mind that I shared with it. It is a huge responsibility for the parents to make such an environment that that a child can share his or her feelings. So yeah,
जैसे
that
इन्होंने
makes
रिसर्च बेस्ड हमें ये चीजें बताई हैं. दे हैव कलेक्टेड डेटा दैट दीज रिसर्चर्स हैव सेड दिस थिंग दैट इट हैपेंस. तो हम ये कह सकते हैं कई बार
yes.
क्या होता है हमें अपने माइंड में लगता है कि जो अथॉरिटेटिव पेरेंटिंग है वो नेगेटिव इफेक्ट ही देगी,
Hmm.
लेकिन ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है.
Yes.
अगर
ऐसा
मैं
जरूरी
आपको
नहीं
बताऊं
है.
तो मैंने रिसर्च वर्क में जब किया, रिसर्च वर्क में मैंने होम इन्वायरमेंट का जो इफेक्ट था वो बच्चों की स्कोलास्टिक एंड पोस्ट स्कोलास्टिक अचीवमेंट पे देखा था. और वहाँ पे कहीं
Hmm.
कई कई जगह पर ये निकल के आया कि जो पनिशमेंट हम कह रहे हैं, पनिशमेंट इट इज ऑल्सो हैव
Hmm.
पॉजिटिव इफेक्ट समवेयर. ओके.
Ma'am,
अगर
reinforcement do have positive effect.
यस, अगर
Yeah.
आज हम बात करें कि क्या पनिशमेंट बच्चों के ऊपर पॉजिटिव इफेक्ट डालती है तो एवरीवन विल से नो, राइट. लेकिन वहां पे मैं
Right.
ये नहीं कह रही कि बहुत अच्छा रिलेशन था, लेकिन पॉजिटिव रिलेशनशिप कहीं कहीं पे वो शो हो रहा था किसी किसी कैटेगरी में. तो इस तरह
Yes,
से
ma'am.
हम कह सकते हैं कि जब हम बात को ऐसे ही करते हैं और जब हम रिसर्च बेस करते हैं उसमें डिफरेंस होता है. और इन्होंने रिसर्च जैसे रिसर्च बेस हमें बताया है, इन्होंने रेफरेंस भी दे रखे हैं, उसके बेस
Yes.
पे ये चीजें इन्होंने सामने लाई.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
ओके.
Okay.
should we move on now with you two? ओके बेटा, एक बात मैं और कहूँगी, 15 to 20 मिनट्स में आप अपनी प्रेजेंटेशन को कंप्लीट कीजिएगा ताकि दूसरों फिर 5 to 10 मिनट्स हमें डिस्कशन के लिए मिले और फिर हम नेक्स्ट रूट की तरफ बढ़ पाए. राइट. ओके. यू टू प्लीज स्टार्ट.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Divya Rawat, and I'm going to give a brief introduction of what we are going to discuss in the upcoming presentations. So, we are going to have a discussion on multiple childhoods, but in order to understand what multiple childhoods are, we have to understand what childhood is. So, childhood is the age span ranging from birth to adolescence. And this age span is very crucial because this is also the period when a child undergoes a lot of developmental changes. And it is a time when children need proper care, attention, nutrition, education, and discipline. Um, and this is the right of every child because this environment shapes their physical development, emotional development, social development, comprehension skills, interests, understandings, and most specifically, their behavior. and different types of childhoods led by different children due to their respective environment are called multiple childhoods. And some of the attributes that influence a child's environment, ultimately affecting their developmental process, are economic status of parents, geographical reasons, broken families, child labor, mental or physical disability, negligence of parents, or lack of nutrition. Now, we are going to have a detailed discussion on these attributes in the upcoming presentations. Thank you. Over to you, Diksha.
Thank you so much, Durga. So our first topic is geographical influence. So when we talk about geographical influence, we talk about the country they are born in, the culture they are surrounded with, and how it affects. So before starting on this, shall we have a look at the chart that is displayed here? It is just a mightiest example of thing like homework, but how it can go further to making the personal decisions made by parents. So here we can see the time parents spend helping kids with their homework. That means the involvement of kids. So as we can see here, there are 10 countries, out of which there is one African country, two American countries, one European country, and two countries that are Turkey and Russia, which are semi like partially Asian and partially European, and there are four Asian countries. So when we talk about how the parents are involved in different geographical countries, we can see there is a vast difference in parenting style of Asian countries and Western countries. When we see the childhood, we can see the students or the children in American countries, they become independent in very young age, where it is not possible and it is not seen as far as when we are concerned with Asian countries, and more importantly when we stick to India. So what is that reason that make child independent and dependent? So the first idea of parent, the first I would like to describe on the basis of idea of parenting. So in Indian style, it's like we know what's better for you. ठीक है, तुम्हें नहीं पता कि तुम्हारे लिए क्या सही है, तुम्हारे लिए जो सही है वो हमें पता है क्योंकि हम तुम्हारे पेरेंट्स हैं. बट इन वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज, children, they are motivated, they are encouraged to take their own decisions, that you should know what is better for you, and then you can come and discuss after you have decided, and we can have a general like they have a general discussion over that. But how this parenting style actually affect them? So we can see the students or the children in India or in Asian countries, they are less expressive, and since they are not allowed by their parents to express their views, even in the small family discussions they are not allowed to share their opinions, which can lead to constant frustration, and at some point they might, it can also like at some point they will doubting their own self, like maybe हम ही इतने केपेबल नहीं है कि हम अपने डिसीजन ले सकते हैं. तो ये कहीं ना कहीं ये पेरेंटिंग स्टाइल बच्चों के डेवलपमेंट पे कहीं ना कहीं अफेक्ट करता है. दूसरी चीज, जब हम बात करते हैं वेस्टर्न पेरेंटिंग स्टाइल की, द चिल्ड्रन आर मोर एक्सप्रेसिव. Even we see in political and where there are political activities, they are more expressive in political ideologies. They are more expressive, they know where their future is leading to them, because they are made independent at the very young age. What parents do not realize, that they are overprotective at some point, unintentionally maybe, we are not generalizing, maybe unintentionally, but they build up sheer fencing of protection, which they don't realize that that fencing might end up hurting their child who they want to protect. First, this is the parenting style and how they affect the childhood. Now second, there is a cultural impact. If we see how the cultures are totally different from Asian countries to Western countries. Why I'm taking these two countries? Because Asia is a vast land of culture, and in America or in American countries, we can see because of migration, maybe we can see there is a huge cultural cultural diversity. So when we talk about culture, there is this thing in Asian countries: we should respect our teacher, we should respect our elders, we should not say no to them, we should not talk back, to them, because out of respect maybe. But again, ये respect मतलब हम लोग out of respect करते हैं, but कहीं ना कहीं जो बच्चे हैं वो कहीं ना कहीं उनको अपने ऊपर वही अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पाते. उनको लगता है कि हाँ, जो बड़े बोल रहे हैं वो सही बोल रहे होंगे, क्योंकि अगेन उनके पास एक्सपीरियंस है, वो है, हो सकता है हमारा पॉइंट नहीं हो सकता, सही नहीं हो सकता. बट अगेन व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट वही चीज़ जो दोबारा हमने पेरेंटिंग स्टाइल में करी, तो कहीं ना कहीं पेरेंट और कल्चर में पॉइंट्स हमारे सेम हो जाते हैं। और जैसे हम लोगों ने, और ये चीज़ हम मीम के थ्रू बहुत अच्छे से समझ सकते हैं। जैसे बहुत टाइम पहले मैंने एक मीम देखा था कि बच्चा कोई अमेरिकन फैमिली थी एंड द चाइल्ड वाज टॉकिंग बैक टू देयर पेरेंट्स एंड देयर वर इंडियन कमेंट्स, इंडिया में करके दिखाओ तो सीधा उड़ती हुई चप्पल आएगी मम्मी की। मीन्स लाइक you again the culture difference. That's it. If there are any questions, please. Okay, sorry, the questions will be asked at the end. Now I would like to hand over this to Garima.
Okay, my topic is children with disabilities or special need children. They are the children who have a disability or a combination of disabilities that make learning or other activity difficult. The children need extra attention than normal children. They include deprived children. Deprived children are those children who are not given proper parental care, control, education, or other care, such as first generation learners, children having single parents, or orphan. Second is problematic children who create indiscipline in the class. Third, backward children. Children who are unable to solve questions or do homework one class below. Fourth, mentally retardation, which cause them to develop more slowly than other children and have IQ less than 70. Fifth, genius and creative child. These are the children who demonstrate an advanced ability or potential of one or more specific area than compared to other of same age. Now, what are the causes of which affect children with disabilities? Genetics. Genes are our parents' influence everything from physical characteristics to behavior pattern in achievement and intelligence. Sometimes DNA does not divide evenly. These instances can cause babies born with disabilities such as Down syndrome. Exposure of mother to environment toxins. Drinking and smoking during pregnancy can cause fetal alcohol syndrome. Any damage or accident to children before or after the birth can lead to mental retardation. Now, home influence. First generation learner, that is, children belong to such families where parents of children never attended elementary education, faces problem in adjusting in schools. Now, school environment also impact on children's health and well-being. Children develop bad behavior lead to problematic child if school does not maintain proper discipline and impart values in children. So we need to make some remedial measures or change in techniques so that we can like we can help the children with disabilities or special need. Now I would like to hand over to Hitakshi.
So I'm going to deal with the topic children with anger issues. So my first question is, what is anger? Can anyone tell me what is anger?
It is an emotion.
Exactly. So anger is an emotion, and emotions are the way we express ourselves and our needs and how we feel. Okay. So when a kid have a hard time expressing themselves or negotiating their needs at the earliest, it may start with growling, whining, and they are very being stubborn at the beginning. And when the feeling and they're not able to express themselves in the beginning, the feeling escalates, and which may lead to a persistent emotion, the persistent emotion of being anger at all times. So this leads to the anger issues in the kids in the beginning. So there can be many factors which leads to there can be many factors and causes for the kids to have anger emotions. It can be environmental, like due to bad parenting, or the parents are not able to provide a homely environment to the kids. It can be biological and other social factors. So as on the screen you can see the first point, that how anger issues can hamper childhood. It can impact the child's social functioning and development. So naturally, if the kid have poor communicating skills, and he is not able to hold us, or he or she is not able to hold a social life, just like that, it may hamper the childhood with other factors, like he or she has less empathy, and no social skills, and on the verge of rejection from other kids, poor adjustment to school, and very lonely childhood. So I may conclude that this may further result in fear of rejection problem while conducting themselves for rest of their lives, if not fixed at the earliest. Next point for the presentation.
So yeah, hello. My topic is children of upper class families. Usually, the well-off families are ruled by calendars with children enrolled in different activities like sports, dance, music, and after-school programs also. And then there are usually two parents who spend a lot of time reading to children and worrying about anxiety levels and hectic schedules of their children. They create healthy and happy. They try to create healthy and happy, honest and ethical, caring and compassionate environment for their kids. Higher income parents see their children as projects in need of careful cultivation. So they try to develop their skills through close and supervision organized activities and teach children to question authority figures and navigate elite institutions for them. So, not conversing in English with their children from the very beginning would put their children at a back foot whenever there are get togethers, parties, and most of these children go to reputed English medium schools, so that it's important for them to learn the language and learn it fluently to be able to survive the competition. Speaking in English remains the symbol of superiority and mastery even after 60 years of independence, and no one is going to shy away from proclaiming this pseudo sense of superiority for a regional language. Most parents from upper middle class families aspire to send their children abroad, US, UK countries for their studies, and hence inculcating in them in a fluent language makes their journey easier. Over to you, Insha.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to as we are talking about multiple childhoods, I would like to talk about autism disorder, which is a specific kind of disorder in which it is a neurodevelopment disorder, which can be due to genetics, or it actually reason for it is still not clear why it occurs. The autism is a highly variable neurodevelopmental disorder whose symptoms first appear during infancy or childhood and generally follows a steady course without remission. Overt symptoms gradually begin after the age of 6 months, become established by the age of 2 or 3 years, and tend to continue through adulthood, although often in a more muted form. Autism or autism spectrum disorder refers to a broad range of conditions characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behaviors, speech, and non-verbal communication. We know that there is not one autism, but many subtypes, most influenced by a combination of genetic and environmental factors. Because autism is a spectrum disorder, each person with autism has a distinct set of strengths and challenges. The ways in which people with autism learn, think, problem solve can range from highly skilled to severely challenged. Some people with ASD may require significant support in their daily lives, while others may need less support. In most cases, they live entirely independently. Autistic infants show less attention to social stimuli, smile, and look at others often, and do not respond to their own name. They do not develop speech. Or it is found that parents with autistic children have a very high tendency to have mental disorders. They find it difficult to play. They find it difficult to make friends. They often lack the social impairments like the intuition. People can take them for granted. Autistic children perform worse than at complex language tasks such as figurative language, comprehension, and inference. So now I would like to hand over to children working.
Okay, so am I audible?
Yes, Kirti, you may proceed.
Okay. So nowadays, it's quite common to have working parents. This definitely increases the income which parents could spend on their child, but at the same time, it has a great impact on a child and its development. Earlier, with the joint family system, raising a child was not a difficult task as there were others to look after the child apart from the mother. However, with the increase of nuclear families, it leaves almost no family member to take care of the child when alone. So, this style of parenting has its own positive as well as some downfalls as well. Uh, so the positive impact on children with working parents could be the lifestyle, and the quality of lifestyle is different. With both parents working, a high quality lifestyle is more affordable for most households. There is more money to spend on a child's education as well as co-curricular activities. Not only that, as both parents are working, they have a lot of experience to share with their child. This helps a child to have a more mature outlook towards their lives. The child also values life when they have working parents. As both parents have to go out to work. They most often have very few hours to spend at home with their kids. This teaches the child that time is indispensable and doesn't come back once it slips away. So they understand the value of time better. Not only that, it also makes children independent. Since the children realize that their parents are at work, they learn to take their decisions themselves, making them good and confident decision makers and thus independent. The children also learn to deal with stress. They notice, like usually children notice from their and notice and learn from their environment, the surroundings. So they notice how the parents balance their work life as well as their home life. It makes them more respectable towards others and help them cope up with the stress better. There are some downfalls of having working parents. Like there could be psychological effects also. Mostly in India, even today, nuclear parenting is very, like, there is not this type of parenting is not much supported by their own families. As a result, they send their children to daycare or hire nannies. The child often gets neglected because the parents are not able to give them undivided attention. Behavioral changes and mood swings can also be seen. As children are left alone with their nannies or in daycare, they tend to suffer from restlessness and have a hard time managing their mood swings. When parents do not spend more time with their kids, it tends to make them more stubborn and aggressive. Also, the children suffers as they are not able to bond with their parents properly. Kyuki, sorry, because sometimes when both the parents are busy at their work and spend very little time at home with their kids, the bond that the child has with the parents suffer, and as the child grows up, the gap may widen. So, since the scenario of working parents raising a child is quite a common phenomenon now, the working parents can use the following suggestions to raise the children. They can adjust job timings and the work life. They can check office policies on the rights of working parents if the child is sick and utilize it to be with their children when they do not feel well. Not only that, a help from grandparents is a boon. If grandparents are willing to be there for the children, there is least to worry about. This arrangement also allows the kids to develop a bond with the grandparents. Parents can also hire a babysitter. Uh, Babysitters can provide all-round support when parents are not there, and child can get undivided attention. A child could also be sent to daycare, childcare, and boarding school, but it must be ensured that child knows the reason why one is opting for such arrangement and is readily accepting it. The child could also be kept busy with hobbies. It is a very nice idea to introduce the children to a wide range of activities. It could be a mix of physical as well as creative activities. It helps in channelizing their energy in right way. Plus, they can also pursue any of the activities as a hobby later in their lives. uh, invest in quality time with children. Like parents know, like everybody knows that time is irreplaceable and invaluable. It is very important to spend quality time with their children every day. The parents should switch off their minds from any other thoughts and instead focus on the time one gives to the child. It has a huge impact on the children's lives. Thus, there should be enough time dedicated daily to spending time with their kids. Thank you. Over to the next one.
Okay, so my topic is child labor. So, children are basically the gifts of God. They are to be protected, nurtured, and molded into a personality they would want to be. They are as delicate as a petal of rose, but with delicacy and softness, there comes the liability of being crushed. And if guided well, they can become what they want to be. Nowadays, children, and to be more precise, homeless children, orphan children, they are all directed to child labor. It may be begging on the streets, working on a construction site, which is no place for a minor to be. And I'm sure at some point in all our lives, we all must have seen a little 10-year-old at night, a 10-year-old boy selling something at the red lights, maybe at nights when he should be in his bed sleeping so he can go to school next day. Such sights of little children cleaning car windows, selling things and cleaning shoes of strangers in order to get few cents to eat or to feed their family who are waiting for them is really heartbreaking. Child labor is indeed a curse to our society and it's a crime against humanity. According to Child Labor Prohibition Regulation Act 1986, a child is a person who has not yet attained at age of 14 years. In this tender age where a child is expected to grow, enjoy his or her childhood to the fullest, seek education, gain a strong value system, seek education where but he or she is forced to work to earn a living for himself, herself, or his or her family. It not only affects his or her mental growth, but it deprives the children of their dignity, potential, and childhood. Children working below the age of 14 years are not able to develop physically, mentally, or morally. Now, let us look at some of the causes of child labor. First is poverty. Poverty is the greatest single force driving children into child labor. When families cannot afford to meet their basic needs like food, water, education, or healthcare, they have no other choice but to send their children to work to supplement the household income. Also, due to poor economic condition, people take loans, but they don't have sufficient money to pay back the loans. So they not only work day and night to pay off the loans, they have to send their children to work. The second is family size. Large poor households have more children to work under child labor as small families, which demonstrates that family size is also an issue which which have an effect on child labor. Parents oblige their children to work because they are not able to manage the demands of a large family. There are also certain gender differences among households that in some places still boys are preferred more that they should go to school rather than girls. Also, the younger siblings get opportunity to go to school in some places as compared to the elder ones because they have the responsibility of feeding the younger ones. Next point is lack of access to quality education. Children, specifically of remote areas, who are unable to enroll themselves in schools either due to distance from school, poor quality of education, overcrowding, fall prey to this child labor. Another is natural disasters and climate change. In rural areas, farmers who see their crops destroyed on account of climate change, natural disasters, have no other choice but to send their children to work. When crops are destroyed on their land, due to many reasons, families struggle to make a living and are more likely to send their children to work in neighboring farms. Conflicts and mass migration is also one of the causes of child labor. So, according to ILO, that is International Labour Organization, there is a strong correlation between conflicts and child labor. Children make up more than half of the total number of people displaced by war. These children are particularly vulnerable to forms of exploitation, including child labor, due to an increase in economic shocks, a breakdown of social support, education, and basic services. Next is poor access to decent work. Children who are involved in child labor often lack basic educational grounding, which would enable them to acquire skills and to improve their prospects for a decent adult working life. Now, let us look at the effects of child labor. So, child labor not only deprives of a child of a proper childhood, but also make them a victim of physical and mental torture. The child becomes emotionally and, and mentally mature at an early age, which is not a good sign. It does not create but also extends poverty, as the child is not able to get basic education, and he or she earns very less money due to this for his or her family. So the effects are physical abuse that involve corporal punishment, emotional maltreatment such as blaming, belittling, verbal attacks, rejection, humiliation. Also, the child might suffer from malnutrition and other such diseases. Lack of schooling and missing educational qualifications and higher skills, thus perpetuating their life is in poverty. Another effect is emotional neglect, such as deprivation of family love and affection, resulting in loneliness and aggressive behaviors. Children may be employed forcefully and they might be sexually exploited. They might become victims of sexual and physical violence. Children, due to poor environment and bad influence around them, can indulge into drugs and juvenile crimes. So, this juvenile crimes is another type of childhood. Juvenile crimes can occur due to certain factors like social, psychological, economic. Social reasons would include family, bad association, bad company, running away from school. Economic reasons would include poverty, starvation, child labor. Psychological reasons would include mental diseases, personality traits, emotional instability, substance abuse, etc. So, prevention is necessary for these children. Firstly, identification of such juveniles and then providing them with required treatment is of utmost importance. These adolescents become habitual offenders if not timely stopped from committing offenses. Moreover, the most effective way of preventing juvenile delinquency has been to assist the children and their families from the very beginning. Now, coming back to on child labor, according to ILO, that is International Labor Organization, the worst type of child labor are slavery, child trafficking, debt bondage, beggary. So, children are meant to learn, not to earn. Don't send them to make tools. Instead, send them to school. Child labor is devastation. They should concentrate on education. We know that poverty often pushes children to work. Yet, when children leave school early to enter the labor force, they are more likely to end up in occupations that limit their chances of breaking out of poverty. Therefore, it is essential that we continue to work on exploring and addressing the links between education and child labor. Education and awareness are the most important tools to fight against child labor. Now, over to Indrajit.
Yes, yes. And my topic is children with inappropriate schooling. So let us first we look the sources which leads to inappropriate schooling are the three are the parents, environment, and the school system. These are the three factors which influence the inappropriate schooling. So first we look the parent side. See, parents have many difficulties such like educational ideologies, parents having varieties of mindset from just wants to literate their child to the overall development of their child's, right? Second one is social status, as parents have the social status regarding education, up to what extent and up to what quality of education is needed for their child's. Also in simple way we can say that some parents have uh, it's like investment for the education, and someone has the NPA, non-performing assets, as their wastage of money. Next one is unemployment. Unemployment also a big issue for a parents to for in inappropriate schooling. Through this, parents are unable to provide a quality education for their childs. Right. Next one is financial status, poverty and middle class. Yes, as we all know, a quality education needs an amount of a sufficient amount of money, and if the parents are from middle class family, it is difficult to provide such quality educations. Issues with the family: parents have some family constraint like religion, custom, tradition, beliefs, etc., which also creates inappropriate schooling for their childs. Personal issue with father and the mother, it's also play an important role for their child in appropriate schooling. And also extramarital affair is also important. They are involved in their battling their own ways, and children have, it's like a careless behavior of a parents toward her child, his or her child. Next one is second factor is environment. In this environment, first is political ideology set by the government. As we know, the government makes policies either whether it is a private schools or a government school. So school have a political atmosphere decides the outcomes of school education. Next one is geographical discrimination. Some remote areas are still have a problem like less number of schools, and also state or district that have fixed outcome. As the district or that locality fix the school outcomes, it also hamper the learning of a student and creates inappropriate schooling. Last one is natural disaster, just like air pollution, earthquake, flood, COVID-19. Via this, the schools have less number of days to teach, and students become a lack of learning. Just like in Bihar, a flood is there, so 1 and 2 month schools are shut down. And nowadays, air pollutions and COVID-19 is also falling in these categories. Last one is school system. That is the most important one, because everything is fine. If the school system is not good, then it's a major issue of inappropriate schooling. Number one is a teacher. A teacher who interact the most of the part of schooling with his or her students have faced several issues like untrained teachers and lack of resources, overworked, unequipped style, and salary issues makes schools inappropriate for learning. Next one is principal. As the principal is the head of the school, so he or she will decide whether it is good for their schools or not. So yes, it's also play a vital role. Last one is school management system. So here we will say that the faulty examination system, as in schools, most of the schools follow the just marks and ranks, academic subject knowledge. They not consider the other extracurricular activities as their marks or grades. And unholistic approach and policies. And last one is profit-oriented agenda in schools. As this is also a concern, then schools have the profit orientation policies, profit earning, although it's a non-profit organization, but still they maintain the balance sheet and all to maintain a heavy profit through the schooling. Thank you. That's my topic is finished.
Thank you so much to you too. If there are any queries, please put forward. If not, we shall proceed. Are there any queries? Ma'am, do you want to ask something?
No, Diksha, we can continue with Q3, but it is
Okay,
taking
ma'am.
very much time on
Okay, ma'am. Since we are very short on time, so we shall continue with the next tute. I would now
Yes,
request tute
today we
3 to.
will today we will take the presentation of Q3 only, and after that on Tuesday, Q4 and Q5 will be presented. Okay, I will take only 2 hours of yours, not more than that. Okay, okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So after Q3, we will be stopping here, and we will continue with Q4 and 5 on Tuesday, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Over to you, tute 3.
Morning, everyone. So we are talking about childhood of multiple childhood factors here, and my topic is children having single parents. So what is single parent? Single parent or a solo parent living without a spouse or partner who has most of the day-to-day responsibilities in raising the child or children. A single parent is usually considered the primary caregiver, meaning the parent the children have residency with the majority of the time. Single parent can result from um, separation, death, divorce of a couple with children, or parents that never married. So today we have seen that parents may opt to become single parents. But historically, death of a partner was a major cause of single parenting. If we see single parenting effect on childhood can be good or bad. With extra care, single parents can raise successful children with excellent overall development in their social and emotional lives. First, we talk about developmental problems. So, many developmental problems revolve around their progress in school. They tend to get lower grades, and their dropout rate is higher than their counterparts from two parent families. They often don't, single parent have often don't have enough time to assist the child with their schoolwork, and sometimes children also have to work to help pay expenses, and that lead to less time to focus on their schoolwork. Single parent families are more likely to experience financial problems because they only have one earner. Children can feel frightened because of this and stressed and frustrated also by the difference between their lives and their friends' lives. Children are more prone to various psychiatric illness, alcohol abuse, and suicide attempts than children with two parents. Sometimes they also feeling of loneliness, abandonedness, and they also even feel guilty. Single parents are more likely to experience disruptions such as move and remarriage also. And major changes can affect the children as kids do well in a controlled environment. Any emotional turmoil and uncertainty may lead to increased psychological problems. So now we'll tell you about we'll tell you about positive effects of single parenting. It can lead to stronger bonds that children tend to develop strong and unique bond with their child. They share responsibilities. Children are much more likely to be accustomed to handling responsibilities and contributing to family operation. Thank you. Over to Mansi.
So now we are going to discuss what are the impact of rich parents and family environment on development of a kid or a child. So positive जो aspects हैं वो कंचन already discuss कर चुकी है. So I'm going to focus more on negative aspects, that how a rich family environment can affect a child negatively. So what happens is it can make a child more demanding and materialistic. फॉर एग्जाम्पल कि पेरेंट्स अपने बच्चों को हर चीज़ प्रोवाइड करते हैं, एक्सपेंसिव मोबाइल्स लाइक आईफोन, प्ले स्टेशन, ज्वेलरी, क्लोथिंग, ऑल सच थिंग्स. तो उससे क्या होता है ना, बच्चा देखता है कि पेरेंट्स तो उसे प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, तो उसे पता चलता है कि पेरेंट्स और प्रोवाइड कर सकते हैं. सो लाइक ही और शी बिकम्स मोर डिमांडिंग कि उसे और चाहिए और चाहिए. एंड नॉट ओनली दिस, इट कैन ऑल्सो मेक अ चाइल्ड मटीरियलिस्टिक. उसे सारी की सारी हैप्पीनेस इसी सब चीज़ों में दिखने लगती है. इनफैक्ट पेरेंट्स अगर ये सब प्रोवाइड करेंगे तो उसके लिए पेरेंट्स अच्छे होते हैं, बट द मोमेंट पेरेंट्स से नो टू एनी ऑफ द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ द किड, बच्चे के लिए वो पेरेंट्स बुरे हो जाते हैं. आफ्टर दिस ऑल्सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि बच्चे छोटे होते हैं. अब पेरेंट्स अपना सोशल स्टैंडर्ड मीट करने के लिए क्या करते हैं, हाई फाई फोन दिला देते हैं, लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल आईफोन और प्ले स्टेशन, और पॉकेट मनी को बहुत हाई कर देते हैं, जस्ट बिकॉज दे आर लिविंग इन अ सोसाइटी. हाई स्टैंडर्ड उनको मेंटेन करना है, तो वो सब फुलफिल भी करते हैं. तो दे डोंट अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हाट कॉन्सिक्वेंस दे आर डूइंग, व्हाट इट इज पुटिंग ऑन देयर किड. बच्चा बड़ा हो रहा है, ही और शी डजंट नो कि अभी की राइट क्या है, रॉन्ग क्या है, ही और शी स्टिल डेवलपिंग. तो उससे क्या होता है ना कि बच्चे पे ऑब्वियसली पेरेंट कांट लुक अपॉन द किड 24 आवर्स. वो फोन में क्या देख रहा है क्या नहीं, उसकी पॉकेट मनी वो कहाँ कैसे यूज कर रहा है, नोबडी नोज दिस थिंग. सो दिस कैन स्पॉइल अ किड. इनफैक्ट मेरे पेरेंट्स और मेरे दादा दादी भी ये कहते थे कि जब तक किसी चीज का अभाव ना होना तो उसका महत्वता का आभास नहीं होता। तो वही बात है कि जब तक हम उसे रिसोर्सेज इतने ज्यादा अफ्लक्स में प्रोवाइड करते जाएंगे अ किड वोंट नो कि उस मतलब क्या इम्पोर्टेंस है चीजों की। सो दिस बेसिकली हिंडर्स दिस rich environment of the family hinders the cognitive development, especially character moral development of the child. So this was it. Thank you. This is education from Nimisha.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk about children having different childhoods depending on the educational background of the parents. Well, as we all know, education is the most powerful weapon. Therefore, it obviously brings a few disadvantages of having an uneducated mother or father, or even both. It gives a hard time to children to learn more by themselves due to the fact that their parents cannot help them with their homework or schoolwork. They are completely dependent on the school and tuitions for their studying. Now, those who have educated parents can have two types of childhoods. Either their parents help them in studies and sit with them and spend time with them, or they do not spend time with them at all because of their busy work schedules. And as in the last tutorial, Kriti just told us about some tips that how the working parents can raise their children. Children of uneducated parents usually don't get much financial support too, unlike children of educated parents who invest heavily in their education and encourage them for higher education. Those who have, they get proper guidance from their parents, proper guidance regarding their careers. They usually plan their children's education more efficiently as they're experienced and understand the process of development. Educated parents also take care of their children's nutritional level too. They make sure that their children get all the vitamins and minerals in adequate amount. In this way, a virtuous cycle is created by educated parents by providing better access to education and health facility. But what we need to keep in mind is that if the parent has not gone to school, it is not necessary that they do not know the value of education. Both the type of parents know the value of education and understand that education is important for the development of children. Thank you.
Good morning. So, my topic is childhood after parent separation, or we can say it well being child after parent separation. Separation is a common relationship phenomena in the community today. Despite the changes in community attitudes and family patterns, separation still represents a major life stressor for the individual involved. This position statement addresses factors that promote child well being after parental separation. Children absorb the world around them like a sponge. They soak their formative little lives into it, so much so that as they grow up, it plays a major role in defining who they turn out to be. The impact of separation on children is well documented. Most react to their parent separation with painful emotion, including sadness, confusion, fear of abandonment, guilt, misconception, anger, loyalty, conflicts, worry, and grief. Many children experience feeling of loss when one parent moves out of the family residence or even when they are with one parent and miss the other. In situation of intense conflict and domestic violence, children may have sense of relief. Their reaction may vary depending on their ages, but nearly all children share a universal worry: what's going to happen to me? In addition to revealing this difficult emotion, research also has shown the negative short-term consequences for children after separation include decreased academic achievement, poor psychological adjustment, social and emotional adjustment, and negative self concept. Their physical health is compromise too, especially in situation of high conflict. There is not always a negative impact on children. There are some positive impact also, like they become resilient and adaptable. They become more self-sufficient. They develop an increased sense of empathy towards others, and the idea of marriage isn't taken for granted. And they learn more through quality time spent with each parents. That's it.
Okay, so my topic is childhood in the light of gender segregation. So, gender segregation is basically the general tendency of children to prefer interaction with the same sex peer as opposed to the peers of the other opposite gender. And it is basically observed between the age of around 2 to 3 years, and it keeps on increasing in strength and intensity through the elementary school years. So the separation of gender in play is typically initiated by the children, and it happens because because of maybe the same gender shares the similar interest or interact in a similar way. So according to the studies researchers, it is seen that socialization by the peer of same gender, or say exposure to the same gender, be it for a very low amount, be it for 30% or be it for maximum 80%, 90%, can lead to different experience, learning skill, competence and interest in both boys and girls. So this means that boys learn how to get along or play along with other boys, and girls learn how to influence and you know play more cooperatively with others. So with if in school, if we see, for example, in rural areas, if we see, people are more kind of conservative and traditional, so you can see in the boys and girls are made to sit separately. They have separate rows for boys and girls, even though they are kind of used to getting mixed up in their neighborhoods and in their homes. But at first these children might feel this separation of different roles, they might feel a little bit strange, but over a period of time it will get normalized in their development and in their personalities also. And then it later strengthens and promotes gender type behaviors and interests in them. So uh, as we proceed, or as the children develop, this cycle of gender segregation leads to kind of gender stereotypes, beliefs and attitudes in them, because children show kind of an understand show very early show the understanding of sex difference by associating with different things like physical appearance, roles, and through toys, like girls play with dolls and boys are supposed to play with cars or trucks. Then through activities, and also through abstract association of genders, like hardness and strength is associated with males, and softness, being gentle and obedient, is a kind of associated with the females. And as child grows, these stereotypes get rooted in their minds, and it is further elaborated or can be established in other fields also, like in terms of sports, like cricket and football is seen as more masculine way. And in terms of education, like girls are expected to be good at arts and humanities, and boys are expected to be more good at maths and science. In terms of occupations also, you can see that business world is more of a male dominated one, and girls are expected to go in the line of be a teacher or in nursing kind of. So, and also, if we look back at children again in school times also, you'll find there will be many girls that who would like to have who share similar interests as boys have, in like they like to play rough play also, kind of like boys play. So, and there might be some boys who like to have interest like girls, like having calm discussions and all. So among their peers, such children are considered as called weird and all. They'll be labeled as tomboys or being girly boys and all. So kind of later such children get excluded from their peer groups and all, and it has a kind of a negative impact on them, like on their personalities later on. So it's very important in children to teach them that about gender equality, about laws, and about the rights that both sexes are equal. So thank you, that's all. Over to Pooja.
Pooja, you're on mute.
Good morning, everyone. So, my topic is childhood with identity issues with respect to the third gender. So, first, let us talk about the meaning of the third gender and the concept of gender identity related to it. Third gender is a concept in which individuals are characterized either by themselves or by the societies as neither male or nor woman. The term third is usually understood to mean the other than the binary division of the gender that we have, a boy or a girl. A other or a transgender person is someone whose personal idea of gender does not correlate with his or her assigned gender role. The particular term can also inculcate people who don't feel like they're completely male, or they don't feel like they're completely female as well. The state of personally identifying as or being identified by society as a man, a woman, or other is usually also defined by the individual's gender identity and gender role in the particular culture in which they live. A person's gender identity can be masculine, feminine, or the other. Usually, kids don't think much about their gender. It feels very normal and natural for many girls to be female and for many boys to be male. But that's not true for everyone. The transgender people who are born as boys feel that they should be female, and those who are born as girls feel like they should be male. People who are transgender feel like they are living inside a body that's all wrong for them. They often say they feel, I quote and unquote, trapped in someone else's body. They feel different from the time they are young children. They may feel confused and emotionally conflicted. Even some decide to change their bodies through surgeries or taking some hormones, though. Gender identity is not same as sexual orientation as most of us think to be. They may Sexual orientation refers to the gender someone is attracted to, whereas being transgender is about gender identity, the way people see themselves and the gender they identify with. Now let's talk about some effects. Of paramount importance are the principles of equality and non discrimination, right to life, survival, and development, best interests of the child, and respect for the child's views. Families have a very crucial role, I would say, in creating a safe and loving environment for the children, and especially for the trans and gender diverse children and adolescents. Sadly, in some families, trans and gender diverse children remain stigmatized, ostracized, marginalized, and rejected. Many of those children remain at risk of physical, sexual, and psychological violence in community settings and within their own families, including crimes committed in the names of so called honor. Trans and gender diverse children and adolescents are also more vulnerable to school related violence. You can say bullying, maybe, for example, and exclusion in the classroom, playgrounds, toilets, and changing rooms on the way to and from school, as well as online, for example, cyberbullying. A hostile environment can regrettably force trans and gender diverse students to drop out of school and push them out of their families at early ages. They become vulnerable to homelessness, informal job markets, criminalized economies, police profiling, and leading to a cycle of poverty and marginalization and further discrimination and violence as a lifelong predicament. Rejection leaves the trans and gender diverse children and adolescents vulnerable to mental health problems as well, including
feelings of isolation and depression, and can lead to self harm and suicide. It is therefore crucial to create safe and affirming spaces where these young people can be directly supported to help them address the prejudice and discrimination they may face. Criminalization and pervasive discrimination in such contexts lead to the denial of healthcare, including to the gender affirming procedures and to the lack of access to information and related services. Pathologizing trans and gender diverse people, branding them as ill based on their gender identity and expression, has historically been and continues to be one of the root causes behind the human right violation against them. In most of the countries, even transgender people are refused legal recognition of their self-denied defined gender, which can lead to further human right violation in education, employment, healthcare, and beyond. Now, let us look at what can, as individuals or as a society in whole, we can do for the upliftment or for the betterment of the third gender people. Many of advocacy groups and a growing number of health professionals can help transgender people find acceptance, support, rights, and care. Many expert medical centers are available to help the transgender people and their families address the complex physical and emotional issues they face. We urge states worldwide to adopt a legal and policy framework with comprehensive implementation measures to protect the rights of trans and gender diverse youth, respectful of gender diversity, and to enable the realization of their fullest potential. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. My topic is children's education whose parents are working in defense sector. सबसे पहले मैं आपको ये बता देना चाहता हूँ कि मैंने टॉपिक इसलिए लिया क्योंकि ये टॉपिक मेरे एक ज़िंदगी का हिस्सा है। मेरे खुद पापा डिफेंस रिटायर हो चुके हैं, तो मैं जो है इस टॉपिक को बहुत अच्छी तरीके से समझ सकता हूँ। तो चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं। Some children may experience disruptions to their education each time and they move for a posting. इसका एक बहुत अच्छा एडवांटेज भी है। क्यों? Because children get exposure to different cultures, they get transfer from one place to another. They meet variety of peoples from different culture and religious backgrounds. And children make a new friend from different states, which helps them to know about different languages, festivals, foods, and etc. And it also helps the education license officers give education supports to defense families as they move around the country providing informations, advice, and referral and specialized assistance. And it includes informing, preparing, and empowering families about local schools and education systems and working with parents, students, and teachers to manage the transition when reallocating to new school and linking families with education providers, resource and supports agencies according to the children individual needs, including students with special needs, working with schools to ensure the supportive educational environment and to raise awareness of issue facing defense children and informing families about defense support service to avail including financial assistance entitlement under the education assistance schemes and इसका एक बहुत अच्छा एजुकेशन में बेनिफिट भी है mentor based within the primary and secondary schools for the purpose of providing supports to the children and defense families through on-site direct and flexible assistance to students, parents, teachers, and other support services. And this may also include the assisting the new children and their families to integrate into the school and local communities, monitoring the social and emotional well-being of defense students, assisting students to develop self-confidence, self-reliance, and resilience, and referring students to service or schools and community programs that meet their needs, and enhancing awareness and appreciation of the unique defense lifestyle in school and communities. And last one, providing support to children during the time of parental absence. Thank you so much. I hand over to Manshi.
Mansi, please unmute yourself.
Mansi, you're not audible.
Am I audible now?
Yes, Mansi.
So now I'm going to speak few lines on pessimistic family environment. This basically happens when parents are too critical and negative about everything around them. वो अपनी हर situation को blame करते हैं कि sorry, 1 second. सो पेरेंट्स अपनी हर प्रॉब्लम को ब्लेम करते हैं कि हमारे साथ ऐसा हो गया, वैसा हो गया, हमारे पास ये नहीं है, वो नहीं है. तो बच्चा जब आसपास रहता है, दे सी देयर पेरेंट्स एंड वी ऑल नो दैट चिल्ड्रन लर्न फ्रॉम देयर एनवायरनमेंट, कि जो भी हो रहा होता है वो देख के लर्न करते हैं, वो देख के सीखते हैं अपने पेरेंट्स से, अपने फ्रेंड्स से. सो व्हेन दे नोटिस सच tendencies and negativity around them and in their parents, तो उनमें भी कहीं ना कहीं वही सब फीलिंग्स आ जाती हैं. बच्चे भी उसको अडॉप्ट करते हैं कॉन्शियसली अनकॉन्शियसली, वो भी सब उन पे अप्लाई होता है, वो भी बहुत क्रिटिकल और नेगेटिव हो जाते हैं, अपने अराउंड हर चीज होती है. दे नेवर सी एनीथिंग इन अ पॉजिटिव लाइट, चाहे वो अपनी बॉडी पॉजिटिविटी हो, वो अपने आप को इवन इफ दे आर नॉट फैट दे विल कंसिडर देमसेल्व्स टू बी फैट. अगर वो पतले नहीं भी हैं तब भी वो स्किनी सोचेंगे अपने आप को, या फिर एग्जाम्स दे के आएंगे तो उनको कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं होगा कि उन्होंने अच्छा दिया है नहीं दिया. दे विल स्टॉप टॉकिंग टू पीपल एंड हेजिटेट कि वो जो बोलेंगे वो ठीक होगा कि नहीं. तो बहुत ही अंडर कॉन्फिडेंस और डेवलप करता है एक चाइल्ड के अंदर. इवन इन फैक्ट हमने अभी देखा कोविड के टाइम पे, ऑब्वियसली देयर वाज सो मच नेगेटिविटी अराउंड. अब पेरेंट्स, कई पेरेंट्स ने कुछ ज्यादा ही उसे हाइप कर दिया और डर गए कि ऐसा हो गया, या हम हॉस्पिटल नहीं है, या हमें कुछ हो गया तो हम कहाँ जाएंगे. तो बच्चा वो घर पे देख रहा था, इंस्टेड ऑफ इनकलकेटिंग पॉजिटिव फीलिंग्स और पॉजिटिविटी अराउंड देम, पेरेंट्स और ज्यादा हाइप करने लग गए, डरने लग गए. तो उससे क्या हुआ, छोटे छोटे बच्चे जो है ना, उसका भी डिप्रेशन केसेस बहुत बढ़ गए हैं. Counselors and psychologists are now very famous, not famous I should say, but are in demand, especially child psychologists, क्योंकि बच्चों के अंदर एंजाइटी और डिप्रेशन आ गया just because of all the negativity around them. So इसलिए पेरेंट्स को, the parents should be really careful and should never be negative around their children and inculcate optimistic feelings for their children. So this is it. Thank you. Now next.
Okay.
Is there any issue, Tude 3?
No. Migration of parents abroad from working purpose may be an important way of generating income and reducing unemployment. May have positive and negative consequences. Parents often get better paid jobs and provide children with more financial and educational resources and fostering social and school achievement. On the other hand, however, missing the main adult caregiver may be harmful for children's well-being. Children are geographically separated from one or both parents over an extended period. They are currently growing up in absence of their mother or father or both. Let's understand the impact of a family separation. They have not able to communicate on daily basis. The only way to communicate through WhatsApp, FaceTime, or we can say social networking site. Through social networking sites, parents visit their children at a short notice whenever there is requirement, and it is making them feel bad by saying parents living in different countries don't take care of their children. Basically, they give very little attention to their kids. The most silent negative impact is sometimes due to this, children feel helplessness and isolation being confronted with health and academic problems. Parents do not examine parents Parents do not examine child mental health during separation, which include adjustment to new culture. School School dropouts, tendency seen mostly in boys, basically low school participation, weak isolation and communication with schoolmates and others, tendency of associations with deviating group, sometimes even criminality, mainly in boys. कभी कभार क्या होता है कि रिस्क ऑफ ड्रग कंजम्पिटेशन, बच्चे जो होते हैं जिनके पेरेंट्स बाहर वर्क करते हैं, अकेले हो जाते हैं, समटाइम्स दे फील लोनली, जिसकी वजह से वो ड्रग्स वगैरह कंज्यूम करना स्टार्ट कर देते हैं, और उसमें आगे नशे में वो कुछ ऐसे हार्मफुल चीजें करते हैं समाज के लिए भी और खुद के लिए भी, जो कि नॉट एक्सेप्टेड बाय आवर सोसाइटी. ओके, सो माय नेक्स्ट पॉइंट इज, हाँ, risk in this situation cannot be prepared food, also no stability, and they have to adjust in different culture. They have to adjust according to their behavior, या जहाँ पे वैसे वहाँ का culture है उसके according अपने behavior को shape करना पड़ता है. Learning languages in short span, और safety का भी issues होता है क्योंकि both parents are working. As both of the parents are working, so the child gets very few time even on with one of the parents. Both the parents try to compensate the less time being given to the child with expensive gifts, which further leads to loneliness, less emotional development, and less human interaction. Individuals often experience confusion over their identity. They are culturally homeless. इसका मतलब ये है कि जो इंडिविजुअल है उनको अपनी आइडेंटिटी को लेके प्रॉब्लम होती है. कभी वो लोग दूसरी कंट्री में शिफ्ट होते हैं, कभी वो दूसरी कंट्री में जहाँ पे उनकी मॉम या फादर वर्क कर रहा है वहां पे शिफ्ट हो जाते हैं, और हो सकता है कि उनकी कोई थर्ड लोकेशन भी हो जहाँ पे उनके नाना नानी रहते हैं, तो दे हैव टू चेंज देयर प्लेसेस. तो उससे काफी उनके आइडेंटिटी में भी, उनको लैंग्वेजेस लर्न करने में भी काफी प्रॉब्लम फेस करनी पड़ती है. सो ऑल्सो देर आर सम solution to such problems. They are awareness campaign for the risk related to the children who are left at home without parental care, targeting both parents and community. Courses and seminars of parental education organization periodically at local council level. Then existence of school counselors solve issues related to communication, behavior, and absentees, etc. NGOs providing concrete services aiming in this category. Development of children club with an aim to offer a beneficial ways to spend their time, their free time. Media campaign can promote some solutions. So conclusion, cultural homeless has been found to have both advantage and disadvantage at times of being associated with low self-esteem, perceiving less control over one's own life, and an unsatisfactory level of experience with belonging and attachment. Thank you. This is all from Tude 3.
Thank you, Tude 3, for bringing different childhood through gender spectrum in the light and acknowledging third gender by
Diksha,
giving...
Diksha. Look,
Yes, is there...
one slide is left from 2, 3.
Okay, okay. She said thank you, so I thought...
Yeah.
Okay, okay, no problem. You may carry on.
So, good morning, everyone. So, my topic was parents who impose their dreams on their child. सो बेसिकली हमारे साथ ऐसा हुआ होगा काफ़ी सारे बच्चों के साथ जिनके मतलब पेरेंट्स ने कहा होगा कि मतलब मेरा बच्चा डॉक्टर बनेगा या इंजीनियर बनेगा या फिर ये करेगा वो करेगा लाइफ में। जनरली ऐसा बहुत ज़्यादा होता है और वो ये नहीं सोचते कि हमारा जो बच्चा है वो एक्चुअली में ना क्या करना चाहता है। तो उन्हें मतलब ना इस बात से फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता। वो ये सोचते हैं कि मैं तो बिल्कुल सही सोच रहा हूँ अपने बच्चे के लिए, और अगर बच्चा कभी कहता भी है उन्हें कि मैं तो ये बनना चाहता हूँ या मैं ये करना चाहता हूँ, तो वो सोचते हैं तू अभी छोटा है, तुझे कुछ नहीं पता और हमें बहुत एक्सपीरियंस है, हमें पता है और हम तेरा भला ही चाहते हैं। और ऐसा नहीं है कि हम मतलब तेरा बुरा सोच रहे हैं, हम तेरा भला ही चाहते हैं। और जनरली मतलब वो ये सोचते हैं कि बेसिकली जो डॉक्टर, इंजीनियर या फिर जो ऐसे करियर हैं जो मतलब ना काफ़ी सालों से बने हुए हैं, रेप्यूटेड जो करियर्स हैं, बस वही हैं दुनिया में, उनके अलावा कोई अच्छा करियर ऑप्शन नहीं हो सकता। और इसके पीछे कई सारे कह सकते हैं रीजंस हो सकते हैं, मल्टीपल रीजन, कि पेरेंट्स ऐसा क्यों करते हैं। वो क्यों मतलब अपने जो सपने हैं जो वो पूरे नहीं कर पाए, वो अपने बच्चों से वो पूरे करवाते हैं, या फिर मतलब वो उन पे एक बोझ सा डाल देते हैं कि हाँ तेरे को यही करना है। तो इनके पीछे क्या रीजन हो सकते हैं वो हम देख लेते हैं। पहला जो मतलब ना काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट आता है रीज़न, वो है कंपटीशन। तो बेसिकली क्या होता है कि पेरेंट्स के जो दोस्त हैं उनके मतलब या फिर ना सोसाइटी में या नेबरहुड में या फिर हम बोल सकते हैं रिलेटिव्स के जो बच्चे हैं उनको देखते हैं कि हाँ कि मतलब जो तेरे मामा का लड़का है मतलब ना उसने यहाँ टॉप किया है, वहाँ टॉप किया है, ये तो उसके बहुत अच्छे मार्क्स आए हैं, या जो पड़ोस में वो लड़का रहता है या लड़की रहती है उसके इतने अच्छे मार्क्स आते हैं, वो इतनी अच्छी है। और सिर्फ मतलब अकेडमिक्स में ही नहीं, मतलब बाकी जो फील्ड है, यहाँ तक कि वो स्पोर्ट्स से भी कंपेयर कर देते हैं कि देखिए वो वहाँ चला गया, वो नेशनल लेवल पे खेल के आया है, ये है वो है। तो मतलब ये सारी जो चीज़ें हैं ये कंपटीशन की वजह से पेरेंट्स को मतलब बेसिकली वो ये सोचते हैं कि हमारी एक क्या सोसाइटी में जो मतलब ना इमेज है वो बहुत ज़्यादा होनी चाहिए कि हाँ ये गुप्ता जी के लड़के ने ये किया है और ये नहीं किया, या फिर मतलब वो कंपैरिजन में चले जाते हैं। और जब वो अपने बच्चे को दूसरे के बच्चे से कंपेयर करते हैं, वो ये नहीं समझते कि हर बच्चा यूनिक होता है और उसकी मेंटल या फिजिकल जो एबिलिटीज हैं वो बिल्कुल यूनिक हैं। और ये कंपैरिजन की वजह से ही वो अपने बच्चों का जो सेल्फ स्टीम है या जो मतलब ना कॉन्फिडेंस है वो पूरा गिरा देते हैं। और उन्हें मतलब ना इस बात से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि उनका बच्चा क्या झेल रहा है अंदर ही अंदर। बस वो सोचते हैं कि हम तो अपने बच्चे के लिए एक अच्छा करियर बना रहे हैं, एक अच्छे मतलब बोल सकते हैं कि एक बढ़िया करियर ऑप्शन उन्हें बताया है और सपोर्ट भी कर रहे हैं हम अपने बच्चों को उस चीज़ में। बट वो ये नहीं सोचते कि बच्चा मतलब एक्चुअली में खुश है या नहीं। दूसरा जो रीज़न हो सकता है वो होता है कि जो फ्यूचर अर्निंग क्या होगी। तो अब मतलब जैसा कि हर कोई जानता है कि अगर अच्छे कॉलेज से मतलब ना इंजीनियरिंग की है या फिर ना डॉक्टर अगर कोई है बच्चा, तो वो काफ़ी अच्छा कमाएगा, क्योंकि पैसे पे ही ना दुनिया चलती है, सब यही सोचते हैं। बट वो ये नहीं जानते कि हम पैसे से ही सारी चीज़ें नहीं खरीद सकते, खुशियाँ नहीं खरीद सकते बच्चे की। और वो सोचते हैं कि हाँ मतलब ना पैसा तो है इस करियर में और जो रिस्पेक्ट है वो भी है, तो फिर तुझे क्या दिक्कत है डॉक्टर बनने में, वो ये बोल देते हैं अपने बच्चों से। बट वो ये नहीं सोचते कि मतलब क्या है बेसिकली जो उनका बच्चा है वो ये करना चाहता है या नहीं करना चाहता। क्योंकि हमेशा पैसा ही मैटर नहीं करता, और पैसा कमाना मतलब वो भी ऐसा काम करके जो उन्हें पसंद ना हो, और पैसे को ना खर्च करना, दोनों में बहुत डिफरेंस होता है और वो ये डिफरेंस को ना समझ नहीं पाते हैं। और फिर इसके बाद अगला जो रीज़न आता है वो हो सकता है करियर जो मिथ्स हैं जो बने हुए हैं, यानी जो गलतफ़हमी है। जैसे कि खासकर कि जो पुरानी जनरेशन के पेरेंट्स हैं उनको ऐसा लगता है कि मतलब कह सकते हैं जो फ़ोटोग्राफ़ी जैसे जो स्किल्स हैं, या फिर मतलब अगर कोई बच्चा पेंटिंग में अच्छा है या फिर वो बहुत अच्छा आर्टिस्ट है तो वो कुछ नहीं कर सकता फ्यूचर में। या फिर अगर कोई मतलब बढ़िया डांस कर रहा है तो वो कुछ नहीं कर सकता। वो बोलेंगे कि मतलब ना डांस से पेट नहीं भरेगा तेरा, तू पेट नहीं पाल पाएगा अपना या फैमिली का, या फिर तू ये गाना गा के ना ये कुछ नहीं कर सकता, बस 4 लोग तारीफ़ कर देंगे और स्कूल कॉलेज में वो तारीफ़ कर देंगे, वहाँ से निकलेगा तो फिर तू बेरोज़गार ही रहेगा, तो फिर उसका क्या फ़ायदा? तो वो बच्चों को अपना पैशन या फिर मतलब जो वो चाहते हैं वो फ़ॉलो नहीं करने देते इस वज़ह से। उनको ऐसा लगता है कि ये सारी चीज़ों में कोई करियर नहीं है, और बस जो लिमिटेड जो करियर मतलब ना जिनके बारे में वो जानते हैं सिर्फ, बस वो वही फॉलो करने के लिए बच्चों को बोलते हैं। और इसके अलावा फिर रीज़न आ सकता है एजुकेशन सिस्टम, और इसका तो हम कह सकते हैं सबसे बड़ा रोल है इसमें। क्योंकि अगर हम देखें तो मतलब ना स्टार्टिंग से ही जो टीचर्स हैं तो स्कूल्स में तो वो भी ऐसे ही जज करते हैं, एजुकेशन जो सिस्टम है वो भी बिल्कुल ऐसे ही चलता है कि बच्चे आए, बच्चे पढ़े और फिर उन्होंने एग्जाम दिया, और ये पूरा जो ये सिस्टम है वो ना रोड लर्निंग मतलब ना रोड लर्निंग पे है। यानी बच्चा बस क्या करे जा रहा है, वो पढ़े जा रहा है, एग्जाम में लिख के आ गया, एग्जाम में मार्क्स आए तो अच्छी बात है, नहीं आए तो बच्चे के बस की कुछ नहीं है। और मतलब जो सारी जो चीज़ें हैं उसको जो जज किया जाता है वो उसके मतलब ना इंटेलिजेंस या उसकी जो मार्किंग है, यानी मतलब जो उसके मार्क्स आए हैं, मार्कशीट है, उस पे बेस किया जाता है और उन्हें फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता मतलब। और हम कह सकते हैं इनफैक्ट हमने ये देखा भी होगा जो पीटीएम होती है, पेरेंट्स टीचर मीटिंग, और अभी भी ये सिर्फ पहले की बात नहीं है, अभी भी अगर देखा जाए तो पेरेंट टीचर मीटिंग में क्या होता है कि पेरेंट्स आते हैं और टीचर ना बच्चों के सामने उनको बोलते हैं कि मतलब आपका बेटा पढ़ाई में जो है वो अच्छा नहीं है और ये कुछ नहीं कर पा रहा है, ये है वो कभी भी बात नहीं करते कि क्या इसकी कोई फिजिकल एबिलिटी है। और पेरेंट्स के दिमाग में भी ना वही बात बैठ जाती है, क्योंकि हो सकता है कि पेरेंट्स जो हैं वो उतने एजुकेटेड ना हो, तो पेरेंट्स तो मतलब ना टीचर को ही मानेंगे सब कुछ कि हाँ ये तो यार पढ़ा लिखा बंदा, ये जो बता रहा है वो सही ही होगा, और ये तो मतलब जो मेरे बच्चे के बारे में बता रहा है वो बिल्कुल ठीक होगा, करियर के बारे में ही बता रहा है। तो जब जो टीचर्स ही ऐसा बोलते हैं कि हाँ तुम्हारा बच्चा मतलब ये पढ़ाई में अच्छा नहीं है, इस पे ध्यान दो, और ये अच्छे मार्क्स नहीं ला रहा है, और क्लास में मतलब वो दूसरा बच्चा जो टॉप कर रहा है और ये फेल हो रहा है, तो ये सारी जो चीजें हैं वो पेरेंट्स के दिमाग में भी बैठ जाती हैं, मतलब और बच्चे के दिमाग में भी कह सकते हैं कि बैठ जाती हैं। बच्चा सोचता है कि मैं तो फेलियर हूँ यार, मेरे बस की तो कुछ भी नहीं है, और जो कॉन्फिडेंस है वो यहीं से गिरना स्टार्ट होता है बचपन से ही, और फिर वो जैसे जैसे वो बड़े होते जाते हैं मतलब ना इससे उनकी पूरी जो फिजिकल, मेंटल और सोशल हेल्थ है उस पर बहुत ज्यादा असर पड़ता है, क्योंकि मतलब बिल्कुल कॉन्फिडेंस ही नहीं रहता, और फिर वो सोचते हैं, और फिर मतलब शायद जो वो चीज़ अचीव कर सकते थे वो अब नहीं कर पाते हैं। फिर इसके बाद आता है कि मतलब जो मतलब जो पेरेंट्स की जो ड्रीम्स हैं, तो हमने देखा है कि हमारे पेरेंट्स जो करना चाहते थे अपनी लाइफ में वो नहीं कर पाए किसी भी ना मतलब ना सर्कमस्टेंसेस की वजह से, चाहे वो फाइनेंशियल प्रॉब्लम हो या कोई भी प्रॉब्लम हो उस वजह से, तो पेरेंट्स के ना खुद के ड्रीम्स नहीं हुए पूरे, तो वो सोचते हैं कि ये हमारा बच्चा वो करे, हमारे बच्चे वो सपने पूरे करें जो हम नहीं कर पाए कभी। तो इसीलिए वो मतलब ना पूरी मेहनत करते हैं और सोचते हैं कि मैं बहुत ज़्यादा मतलब मैं सपोर्ट करूँगा अपने बच्चे को ताकि वो मेरे ड्रीम्स पूरे कर दे। बट वो ये नहीं सोचते कि मतलब मतलब अगर ये देखा जाए कि हमारे पेरेंट्स को ना कितना बुरा लगा, सपोज़ कि मेरे पापा जो हैं वो डॉक्टर बनना चाहते थे, ये रियलिटी वाली बात है। तो मतलब मेरे पापा ना डॉक्टर बनना चाहते थे बट वो नहीं बन पाए, तो उनको आज बुरा लगता है। बट उन्होंने ना ये नहीं सोचा कि मतलब मेरा बेटा क्या बनना चाहता है, अगर वो नहीं बन पाया फ्यूचर में तो ना उसे कितना बुरा लगेगा। तो बिल्कुल वैसे ही हुआ कि मेरे जो पापा थे मतलब ना उनके पापा ने क्या किया कि जो वो मतलब ना करवाना चाहते थे, हाँ मान लो बेसिकली वो खेती करवाना चाहते थे, तो उन्होंने कहा कि हाँ खेती कर ले, क्या पढ़ेगा, पढ़ाई मत कर। तो बिल्कुल वही चीज़ है, वो बिल्कुल ये पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से नहीं देखते हैं कि जब मैं सपना अपना पूरा नहीं कर पाया तो मुझे इतना बुरा लगता है, तो जब मेरा अपना बच्चा जो है वो अगर मतलब अपने सपने पूरे ना कर पाए तो उनको अ, कितना बुरा लगेगा। तो ये मतलब वो ये चीज़ ना कभी नहीं सोचते हैं, और वो ये सोचते हैं कि हाँ मतलब मैं तो अच्छा ही सोच रहा हूँ, ये तो बहुत अच्छी चीज़ है और ये बहुत अच्छा करियर ऑप्शन है और मैं अपने बच्चे से ये पूरा करवाऊंगा। चलो मैं नहीं कर पाया, मेरे पास उतनी फैसिलिटीज़ नहीं थी, पैसे नहीं थे, बट अब मैं पूरा सपोर्ट करूंगा। और जितना वो सपोर्ट करते हैं, मैंने देखा है कि मोस्टली जो पेरेंट्स होते हैं वो ना उसी चीज़ में सपोर्ट करते हैं जो वो करवाना चाहते हैं अपने बच्चों के लिए। यानी वो बोल देंगे कि मैं अपना घर बेच दूंगा और मैं मतलब ना पूरी जो पैसे हैं वो सब लगा दूंगा तेरी पढ़ाई पे, लेकिन अगर मैं बोलूँ नहीं मेरे को तो ये करना है, तो इसके लिए वो बोलेंगे मेरे पास तो कोई पैसा नहीं है इसके लिए और ये पैसा वेस्ट है। तो ये जो सारे फैक्टर्स हैं वो इम्पोर्टेंट होते हैं। और इसके अलावा अगर देखा जाए तो मतलब ना मुझे तो ऐसा लगता है पर्सनली कि जो बच्चा है अगर मतलब बेशक आप उसको ना कुछ भी बोल दो कि हाँ मेरा बेटा ये बनेगा वो बनेगा या मेरी बेटी जो है वो ये करेगी, बट एक्चुअली में वो अपना 100% नहीं दे पाएगा उस चीज़ में अगर उसका इंटरेस्ट ना हो उस चीज़ में। तो इसीलिए मतलब ये चीज़ बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि हम बच्चे को वो करने दें जो वो करना चाहता है, क्योंकि वो उसी में आगे बढ़ सकता है। जैसे कि अगर कोई बच्चा जो है वो सुबह 10 बजे भी नहीं उठ पा रहा है पढ़ने के लिए, लेकिन वही बच्चा 4 बजे उठ रहा है खेलने के लिए, तो दोनों में बहुत डिफरेंस है। इसका मतलब ये थोड़ी है कि बच्चा आलसी है या बच्चा मेहनती नहीं है या बच्चा कुछ नहीं कर सकता जिंदगी में। तो हमें जो है वो बच्चों को पहचानना पड़ेगा कि एक्चुअली में वो करना क्या चाहते हैं, और मतलब जो करियर ऑप्शंस हैं वो बहुत सारे हैं। सो थैंक यू।
Q3 is. Thank you so much, Lokesh. It was very articulate of you to share your personal experience and how a parent should take responsibility and judge their parenting style and improve themselves. Very well explained. And I would now like to thank all the Q3 members and all the participants who have participated on camera and off camera. And when today we have learned different parenting styles, and with this discussion or the kind of view sharing, I think most of our doubts We have now an overview and most of our concept doubts are cleared, but due to time constraint, we will not be able to proceed with the remaining tudes. Please, I would like your understanding here and extend my gratitude for being so patient and being such a great listeners. We would pick up where we're left in the next time slot. But for now, if there are any queries regarding Q3, you may proceed.